Now, since last time we talked, you guys have released two videos on documentaries, I guess, on Amazon Prime. You did the well for the making of Monument of Misery. You did a premiere down there in Ohio. How did that go, man?
Sold out. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I kind of had the idea, like, I knew that we couldn't play a live show.
Right.
I knew that wasn't going to work. And it wasn't going to work safely, and that was our main concern, was not necessarily the fact of doing a show, but being able to do a show safely and without anybody being like in danger more than they would be going to the grocery store or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. So what we did is our initial thought was we were going to do a drive-in theater.
Ooh.
And we were going to actually set up in front of the screen and have a bunch of stuff playing on the screen, like horror movie type stuff. And we were going to play a live concert in front of the movie screen for everybody in their cars.
Okay.
Well, that idea quickly became expensive. Once you add in renting the drive-in, once you add in the promotional costs and all that stuff, and then bringing in sound and lights for a live show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of out of budget, and I didn't want to risk it, especially with the weather in October and everything. Going, well, if it's really cold or it rains or something, people aren't going to come to this.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to play in front of 4 people's cars parked out in a field. So and, it was just too much money to risk that. And with that setup, so I thought, well, how can we do that but make it like cheaper, not only for the fans but for us as well, and make it more of a feasible thing. How can we get away with doing this indoors somehow? And I like the idea of it being a concert, and I like the idea of it being like involving a movie screen, whatever. So we had already put that documentary out, and it was already out on Amazon. So I contacted the Maumee Indoor Theater, which was a theater in my hometown. It's in a suburb of Toledo. And I grew up in Maumee. And we used to go to that theater for literally like school field trips. And like stuff like that. It's an old, like, historic theater. They renovated it when I was a kid. But I mean, like, I'm talking, you go in there, it's all the neon signs for the popcorn and everything. It's, it's got the, like, the mural in, like, the little tiles and stuff down the wall. I mean, it's nice, like, historical movie theater,
Yes.
And
not many like that, no.
Not really. You don't see a lot of them. And like this looks like exactly like it would have in like the 50s.
Yeah.
And I mean, even down to like they have the little glass box ticket booth.
Oh, awesome.
Like, and all, the big marquee with all the individual like light bulbs and everything. Like, it was, really a cool spot when I was a kid. And I was like, how cool would it be if we could show our stuff here?
Yeah.
And I contacted them, man, and they were excited about the idea, which I was surprised with. And they were, super supportive and worked super well with us on the whole thing, to the point where, the rental was really affordable, and they included like their whole staff and their whole thing. And we determined that to be able to safely seat everybody apart from each other, we would have to severely reduce the capacity of the theater. I think it's somewhere around like 400 or 500 people is the capacity of the actual theater. If you like filled every single seat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we cut the capacity of our event down to 130.
Okay.
That way, no matter where anybody was seated, nobody would be seated in front of you. Nobody would be seated behind you. And you would sit with your group that you came with, and you would either have an aisleway or 3 empty seats on either side of your group before the next group.
Hell yeah. All right.
So not only did it make it cool to watch the thing in the theater because there's nobody behind you or in front of you.
Yeah.
No matter where you are in the theater. but it also, you know, it kept people away from each other enough, you know. And we had them doing full movie concessions for it. We required masks for the whole thing. You could take them off to like eat popcorn and drink and stuff once you got seated in the theater. And we even had ushers, like when people came in, we're like, all right, this is your group. You're going to go get seated over here, and walk you down to your seats and be like, this is where you sit.
Oh, nice.
That way it wasn't like just a free for all. And we hoped people like
Figured it out.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to take that whole element out of there.
Yeah.
And just, this is, you know, where you're going to be. And then at the entrance to the theater, we set up our full like tour merch setup.
Yeah.
And we had like a bunch of merch. Like we had like huge movie posters that we all signed that we were selling up there. We had like the drawstring bags and stuff that had all the info from that night on it. We debuted a bunch of other like new merch that night. And yeah, we had a huge merch setup for people to stop in and pick up some Convalescence merch while they went to the thing. And we started it off. We did like we played the entire Monument of Misery album, the audio, to like a slideshow of pictures.
Okay.
That's sick.
Anything from live pictures to like, you know, fucking around off stage, goofy stuff that we had like on our own phones, you know, whatever. And we just let that play like as a preview almost. You know, and then there'd be a slide every once in a while that would let people know that merch was available in the lobby and that concessions were available in the lobby, and we made it like special for that, like an actual movie preview.
Right.
But it was still death metal, you know.
Yeah.
And, we played the Making of Monument of Misery in full, which was really cool to see on a huge movie screen and like surround sound.
Oh man.
Because I mean they cranked it up for us. Like it was awesome. They gave us pretty free reign on how loud we could make it, and
that's
all
awesome.
that. And then after the Making of played, we played the music videos for One of the Dead, The House of Suffering, and The Pit on the big movie screen. And then it showed the entire Rituals of the Damned concert after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the entire thing, and that's where we debuted Rituals of the Damned, was at that. It was something that nobody had seen prior.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Well, we actually put it together for that. And then later decided, wow, that first Amazon thing went really well. I wonder if they'll take a live concert, basically. And we sent it to them. And at first they denied it, and we had to make a couple little adjustments. But then they picked it up, and it was, you know, it just came out the other week. So, but
yeah, I have watched it 3 times. I can't get enough of it. It's you know, besides like, well, no, include like it's right up there with like the, you know, we had a few good live streams this year with the Lamb of God one, the Yule Them All with Dahlia.
Yule Them All was awesome. I watched that.
So sick. We had a few good ones, but like in a year of no concerts, things like watching, you know, people's cell phone footage on YouTube and stuff like that has been getting me through. And this is this is one of the things that was like closest I've felt to being at a concert in a while. So it was so fucking, and some of the shows in the documentary I was at. So it was like, holy shit.
Yeah. We wanted to try to get as many from like as many different places as we could, but at the same time we only had like footage of certain songs from, you know, it's like, okay, we want to put the Pit in the set list. Do we have what's the best quality video we have of it? And it's like, oh, is it in the Pike Room, or is it in Texas, or is it in California? Or and we had to kind of narrow them down to make the set. And then I thought it would be cool to add like a little bit of an extra touch to it and have all the band members. I mean, everybody did it remotely, as you could tell, I'm sure, but we've only been able to get together as a full band twice in all of 2020.
Wow.
We got home from Europe in December 2019. Everybody went home. We took the holidays off, and the four of us that live up here, me, Zach, Toby, and Charles, started getting together once a week at Zach's house to practice, and actually have like real rehearsals. And we started, you know, getting a set for the year together, started working on the new record, and we had so many shows piled up for 2020. Like, I'm talking, we were about to leave at the end of March and still probably wouldn't be back.
Yeah.
Like all over the world shows. Like, we were planning like a solid 7 to 10 months of touring.
Wow.
Also all on the Monument of Misery cycle.
Right.
And
because that came out 2019, correct?
Yeah, like middle of 2019. So we got like a couple months of touring in on it, and then everything stopped.
Yeah. So that's
so
I mean, first of all, kind of going back to the showing at the theater and stuff, like how sick was it to have it in a spot where like you grew up at, and like, because there's a theater that's in town here, kind of where I live and stuff. It's kind of the same setup, but it's a little less.
Oh yeah.
And like, I guess, like, I don't know, just kind of having that kind of venue and stuff. Like, was it always something that you were like, you know, was it?
I never thought we would do a movie premiere, to be real. Like,
sure, yeah.
It was kind of like literally the idea came about, I think like October 1st or October 2nd, and we ended up doing the screening October 30th.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
really fast.
Shit.
When I booked the theater, we didn't even have Rituals of the Damned put together.
Wow.
We were just like, there's going to be a full concert. And then we're like,
wow,
all right, we got to make a full concert. Like, and it was just like one of those ideas that grew so fast. And then everything like was on kind of a time crunch to be able to advertise it and to be able to do everything. And since we put Making a Monument of Misery and Rituals of the Damned together ourselves.
Wow.
Like
That's awesome.
Toby flattened out like all the sound for it so that it would be not like, okay, well, this clip is turned to 11 and this clip is almost like you can't hear anything.
Right.
It's at least all relatively the same volume, as close as we could get. Me and Icer sat at Icer's house for hours upon hours upon hours, putting all that footage together, me and him, out of footage that we had.
That's sick.
So that's like all that we put out. That's footage nobody else has. That was all taken by our band, by our crew, and that kind of thing. So we did what we could. As far, you know, obviously I would love to have it be like a high quality, badass, like pro shot, like awesome concert. But to be real, I mean, flying people in from Texas, getting a venue, getting everybody together, getting somebody to record it, mix it and master it, like all that stuff, it just adds up so quick that with how much we lost on plane tickets we had already bought, merch we had already ordered, and just all that stuff this year, like we're like, well, we can't lose any money. But we have to do something. Like, I didn't want to go a whole year and not be able to do anything with our fans or that involved our fans in like a real level, but we had to do it in a way that made sense with the current way things were going on at the time and still are. But I mean, we even went as far as we were selling masks at the show. Like, you know, with our logo across them and stuff.
Yeah.
And just making sure that nobody was in there without one, making sure that everybody relatively stayed in their seats unless they like had to get up for something. Even though it was cold, we did have people lined up outside because we didn't want everybody piled into the lobby. As far as Aaron's question about it being like a theater in my hometown like that, man, that meant a lot to me. Because it was like, you know, growing up, there's, especially in like a little suburb town, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are like, man, you're never gonna make it. You're never gonna do anything. You know, everybody has those people.
Yep.
And when you grow up in a town like that, there's a lot of those people. So to be able to go, and this is right in the middle of like Uptown Maumee. This is like the downtown of the city.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's across the street from the police station.
Wow. Okay.
And I come pulling up because, you know, we got to set up the merch and we got to go into the theater and stuff. And we come rolling up and there's a line of metalheads wrapped around the building, all wearing Convalescence stuff in the middle of Uptown Maumee. And I'm just, and you look at the marquee and it just says Convalescence sold out. And I'm just like, this is so cool, man. Like,
That's incredible. Yeah.
it was so cool. It was like, oh man, look, we won.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, it was a win for metal that day, in my opinion.
That must, in having been so long without having played a show or anything, just to see all of your fans out there just must have been like the charge that you got from that. Must have been
it was
sick.
awesome. What we did is we actually had all the band members fully dress up, paint, stage clothes, everything.
Yeah.
We had masks on over our paint and stuff, but we had like specific like stage clothes made for that night. They were all long sleeve, like black button ups with our logo on the chest and like the big emblem, Legacy and Blood emblem on the back. And it was and we sat down in the theater, like in the back of the theater, and we sat there and watched it with everybody.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool. I'm glad that so many people actually did come out.
Yeah, the fact you guys sold it out during everything was pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it came close. I think we sold it out like 2 days before it actually happened. We sold the last like couple tickets. And not all 130 people showed up. There was a few people that couldn't make it. There's a few people that were like, hey, I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to come. And I'm like, thank you. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I mean, but I would say that we still had over 100 people total. So I mean, it was spread out through the theater. It was a really awesome experience. And at the end of the night, they had that a Legacy and Blood logo, like the emblem, up on the movie screen, and we all went up there and took a band picture in front of the movie screen.
Hell
like,
yeah!
on the stage and stuff. So it was cool. I would definitely like to do it again when it's not a pandemic. And
sell that all 500 tickets.
Yeah, that would be great, man. But it was just something that, you know, it kind of popped into our heads, you know, because we're like, oh yeah, the drive-in theater's cool, and then we're like, wait, movie theaters are open in Ohio. How are they doing it? And like they told us their guidelines, and I was with it. I was like, yeah, man, that's gonna work. Like, here's what I want to add, and here's the way we want to do it. And they're like, well, that's really cool, you know. And it was just kind of teamwork from there with the theater.
That's great that they were so cool and accommodating and everything. Must have been a great experience to work with them.
Yeah, and the fact that we got to do it on Devil's Night was even like a little bit cooler.
Oh yeah.
We thought about doing it on Halloween, but Ron had to be, I think, back for a wedding or something. But so we still got to do Devil's Night though, and that was cool.
That's awesome.
That's a little more fitting for you guys, I feel like.
Yeah,
a
little bit.